Hi, everybody. This is Eduardo Fiallos, the coordinator of client education with VolleyStation. And today I want to introduce you to Boot Camp Zero. This is for coaches who are using VolleyStation when you have zero coders to help you. This is the first video in that series, and I want to let you know what we're going to be talking about in this particular video. First thing we're going to talk about is the home screen. There's some important information that appears in this home screen that I want to remind you that it's there so you can use it in other places in the application. The second thing we're going to talk about is the settings, the global settings for the application that are going to affect things that you do everywhere else in the application. The third thing I want to talk about is in the tools section. And there are two tools that I'm going to cover. They are the video converter and the video merge tools. Both of those tools you're going to find helpful as you're bringing video in from outside sources. The fourth thing I want to talk about is the seasons section. Creating seasons and working within seasons in VolleyStation is going to be an important part of what you do every day, whether it is scouting or evaluating your own team. And the fifth thing we're going to talk about in this video is how we deal with teams, how we look at rosters, how we add players, change positions, etc. Because again, these are going to have impacts on how you're doing everything else in VolleyStation. So buckle up and let's go. All right, so here we go with part one. If you haven't logged into VolleyStation for a while, or if you haven't opened up the application in a while, you might start out here on this screen. You can put your username, which is usually your email address, and then your password, click login. It might take a few seconds for it to get back to the home screen. If for some reason you get an error here, please reach out to us via email and we can get your password reset, something like that. Make sure that everything is squared away so that you're able to log in and get to here. This is the home screen. There are some useful things here that I want to remind you are here and will always be here, and that you always have access to this home screen by clicking on this VS icon up here in the top left. So you're always going to be able to get back to here. First thing I want to point out is this link right here to spreadsheets. If you click this link, it will open up a web browser and you'll be brought to this page that is part of our knowledge base. And what you'll see here is a whole bunch of links, and these correspond to a shared Google folder that we have that has all of these spreadsheets available for download that you can then install or import into VolleyStation. We'll talk about these spreadsheets in a different episode of this series, but I want to let you know that if you click on that link in the application, it's going to bring you to here. You can click on any one of these things if there's a sheet that you're interested in, read about it a little bit, scroll all the way down, and you're going to be able to directly download this rather than have to go find our Google folder. If you want that Google folder, we can get you a link to that as well. Just again, contact us by email and we'll get you taken care of on that. Scrolling down, you can pass the dual coding area. Probably not going to be worried about that in the situation that you're in. Once you get down past that section, then you're going to have another link to the spreadsheets, but then you're also going to have this link here about moving your database from one computer to another. This is something that you're going to want to look at if, for instance, you got a new computer since last year and you want to take all the data that you had from VolleyStation on your old computer and move it to your new one. If you click this link, again, it's going to open a web browser. You're going to be brought to this page here, copying data between computers, and it's going to show you step by step where you need to go to find the file that you want to copy, and then where that file would go on your new computer so that you can paste it in and get started. Recognize that this does require that you already have VolleyStation installed on your new computer, and the one other caveat here is that this doesn't copy the settings tab. These are the settings that are used for the entire application, not just the settings that you would adjust from season to season. I'll show you the difference between those here in just a minute. Before we get to those settings, though, another thing that is here on the home page for you is keyboard shortcuts. The ones that are especially useful for you are going to be these ones here about opening new tabs, closing new tabs, and then opening spreadsheets, etc. Just a reminder that the way that a lot of computers work, you can either command click or control click like in a web browser, and things get opened up in a new tab. The behavior here in VolleyStation is exactly like that. Same thing with Command T to open up a new tab, Command W to close any of those tabs. Those shortcuts should be fairly familiar to you if you're used to using them on web browsers or elsewhere on your computer. Another set of shortcuts that I think it's important that you remember where they are these shortcuts for manipulating video, moving around within video, moving forward, back, moving up and down through a list of clips, etc. Recognize that these particular shortcuts that are shown first are for the video montage screen or the video analysis screen. And these shortcuts are different than the ones that you would use if you're watching video while using a match, while looking at video within a match setting. And these are going to be set up in the settings area, which I'll show you in just a moment. Continuing on down, probably not going to use this shortcuts for the command line. These are really going to be used if you're actually coding things. Then the shortcuts for the playlist, these are helpful, not because these are going to change the way video plays, but they are good shortcuts to remember that allow you to move quickly back and forth between plays or between different sets, etc. I will show you how to use those things in action in other videos in this series where we're actually looking at video or we're working in matches. Next is the settings. If I click here, I'm going to be brought to what I call the global settings. These are settings that hold no matter what season you're working on, no matter which match you're working on, etc. Generally, you're not going to be too worried. You're not going to notice too much of a difference if you change these things here. Same thing with the keyboard shortcuts, but this does give you an opportunity here to change the way you control video while in the match screen, not in the video analysis screen. Again, those things are built in and you can't change those. The areas down below this, there are a couple of things that I want to point out that you may want to pay attention to. The default codes may not make much of a difference to you, but the efficiency settings may. If you're looking at spreadsheets that are calculating efficiency using our built-in function called VSF, or if you spell it out, it's VSEFF. If you see that within a worksheet, that's going to use these settings here in order to make the calculations. The easiest one to get you to wrap your head around this is the one for attacks. We're used to calculating attack efficiencies. It's kills minus blocks minus errors divided by attempts. What you see here in these efficiency settings is that kills, a pound, are shown in the winning symbols. So these are the things we're going to count. And then the losing symbols, blocks, and errors are going to be the things that we take away. And then the efficiency calculation is going to be then all the things in this column minus all the things in this column divided by all of the attempts of that particular skill. So if you're wondering where those VSF calculations are coming from, and if you can change them, the answer is they come from here. And yes, you can change them just by clicking in the cell and changing the grades that are in these things. The next areas here for match flow, continuations, combination maps. These are things that you're probably not going to encounter too much or need to worry about too much. But if you're an adventurous coach, if you're getting out over your skis a little bit, if you want to really customize some things that the application does for any of these things, reach out to us and we'd be happy to walk you through some of how you can change some of those things and what effect it's going to have. So the next thing I want to talk about is down here, the tools area. The video converter and the video merge are two tools that you may use. Most of the video that you're probably downloading is coming from VolleyMetrics. If that's the case, almost always that video is going to work for you, no problem, when you import it into VolleyStation. Every once in a while, there might be some quirky things, or if you pull in some video that doesn't come from VolleyMetrics, you might need to reconvert that video. Signs that you need to convert video are going to be if you add video into a match, and then that area of the screen for the match just stays black and maybe has a little white spinner in it. That's an indication that you need to convert your video. If you run into a video that does that, you would click here on the video converter. You would select a file that you want to convert. When you do that, it's going to bring up a window that's going to allow you to select the video that you want to convert. I'm just going to pick this top one here. Then it's going to ask me to have some settings. This is what the video that you get out of this process. This is the properties that this is going to have. It currently is a 1080 resolution video at 30 frames a second. And then I can choose these things just to keep it the same. And I'm going to choose balanced here. If I wanted to go faster and get a smaller video out of it at the end, and by smaller, what I mean is the file size of it, how many megabytes it takes up, things like that, then I would click this instead. I'm going to uncheck this with sound just because usually when I'm watching video, I really don't care if I can hear what's going on. It's less distracting to me to not have that there. I'm going to click encode. It's going to ask me where should it save the file that it's creating. I'm just going to keep it here in the same video folder that I already have set up. I click save, and then what I'm going to get down here is a converter progress bar. And it's important that you recognize that that progress bar or the window that it's living in needs to stay open in order for that video to continuously be processed until it finishes. If you close this tab, then VolleyStation would quit processing the video. If you want to do some other things, you can go ahead and click around in here, and you can continue moving around within the application while this video is converting. You can also hide this so that way it's not getting in your way. Another thing you can do too is just open up more tabs. The thing you want to remember is if you close this tab that the video is being converted in, then that conversion process is going to stop. And you're going to have to start all over again if it didn't finish. Speaking of starting all over again, I'm going to go ahead and abort out of this just because I don't need that and I don't want it to clog up everything else that we're doing. The next thing is video merge. The video merge, as it says right here in this little warning, this is really designed mainly for you to be able to take multiple files, like from a camcorder. If you're using a camcorder to record practice, what you'll see is after a certain amount of time, the file gets too big for the camcorder, and so it segments it out into another file. And so you're going to want to merge that all into one file because it's one practice or one match that you want to use this for. If that is the case, then you're going to want to bring those video files from the camcorder onto your computer, and then you'll be able to select those. It goes through the same process that we just looked at with the video converter. The only difference is now I can select multiple files. I can click the my shift key and select multiple files, or I can use Command or Control depending on if you're using a Mac or a Windows computer. And if I hold that key down, then I can select files that are next to each other, click Open, and they're going to show up in my list here. If you're bringing files in from a camcorder, they are typically numbered, or their file names are numbered sequentially. And so when you bring them in, they should probably show up here in order. But that's going to be a good clue to you as far as what order those files should be in. But you can drag these things around if need be in order to get the order that you want. Once you have that order set, you're going to click the Merge button. Just like before, it's going to ask where should it save the file. I'm going to leave it right here. Click Open, and then again, that video is going to be processed. Same rules apply. If you terminate that process or if you close the tab where that process is happening, everything is going to stop, and you're going to have to start all over again if you did that by mistake. Again, these tools are going to be useful for you if for some reason the video that you download from VolleyMetrics isn't working, or if you're working with video, especially multiple files, that aren't coming from VolleyMetrics at all. Next thing I want to look at is seasons. Okay, in seasons, this is where you're going to have all of your matches that you import in exist. When you import matches in, you're going to import them into a particular season. And then once you have those matches in your season, then you're going to be able to do whatever it is you'd like to do with them. Right now, I'm going to talk about this Bootcamp 0 season that I have set up. In order to set it up, I would click this New Season button. but just trust me on this one. If I click this edit season, this is basically the first step of that process, is putting in the information for this season, its name, its code, its dates. Those are going to be the three most important things that you're going to set up here. One thing that I will recommend to you here is if you are using VolleyStation for both evaluating your own team as well as for scouting things, you might want to set up two separate seasons, one for your own team, one for scouting. I like to do it that way just because then I have two different places where I can keep things separate. That way, the things that I do with my own team don't get cluttered up with all the matches and video that I might bring in as I'm scouting teams throughout the season. Now, with that said, the name that you choose should be unique, but doesn't have to be. The thing that I want you to make sure is unique is the code. The reason why that code needs to be unique is there are some ways that those get used on the back end that you're not going to see very much. But if you don't get these things right, if you don't have a unique code, it may just gum up some things that are happening on the back end, and you might not be able to tell quite exactly why. So you can see the code that I've given here is BCZ1. This is the first season that I'm setting up in this Bootcamp 0 set of seasons. The dates that I'm picking, I'm going to pick a really wide range of dates. You can see here that the date that I've selected for the start date is actually from a year ago. I'm currently at the beginning of the 2025 season, but I put this back to before the beginning of the 2024 season. The reason why I've done this is, hey, what if I'm scouting a team, or if I want to look at matches from my own team that come from a previous season? If I set this date to today, then the matches that I pull in and want to add to this season that are from 2024, 2023, they're not going to show up in my match list, and I might not know why. The reason why has to do with the start dates. And so that's why I'm choosing this really wide range of start dates. That way I can pull in information from a previous season without having to worry about it too much. If I wanted to push it back even further, let's say 2020, I could do that too. The end date that I choose is going to be far enough in the future that it's going to handle all the possible matches from this current fall season. That's why I've chosen December 31st, 2025. Every match in women's volleyball is going to be done by then. If I wanted to keep everything from the fall and from the spring in one season, then I would go ahead and push this forward into 2026, probably selecting something like out into July. So that way I could cover the entire spring and summer if I wanted to. After that, the date formats and the language support, those things probably won't affect you too much, but go ahead and pick American and Western European. That'll keep things as familiar as possible. The default video directory setting, this is here so that VolleyStation sort of knows where to store video or where to go looking for stored video wherever you want this to be. I recommend setting up a new folder that is just going to be for video from this current season. Again, that'll just kind of help things stay a little bit cleaner on the organization side. You don't necessarily need to do that, but you can. It just sort of depends on how organized you want to be behind the scenes and how you organize files on your computer. So once I have those things set up and done, the next step in creating a season is the season settings. These season settings are really just the setter calls and the attack combinations. These can be unique from any one season to another. So you can use the default settings, which are always going to show up anytime I create a season, or you can use settings from some other season and import them in. I recommend going with the default settings because those things are going to look the most like VolleyMetrics code looks like. Again, the assumption is that most of the code you're going to look at is going to come from VolleyMetrics. So if you're doing that, then all of these codes are going to be maybe unfamiliar to you. Maybe you're used to calling things something else, and that's okay. If you want to remind yourself of what VolleyMetrics calls things, what you're going to need to do is go back to a web browser, go to Huddle support pages, and once you're at support.huddle.com, you're going to see all of these support categories down the side. You can get into VolleyMetrics, and then within VolleyMetrics, you're going to look at stats reports and visual analytics. Then within that, the data volley files. And then within that, you're going to go to the data volley material and information page. Once you're on that page, data volley material information, if you scroll down, there is a link here to a file called VolleyMetrics Statistical Classifications. If you open that up, you're going to get a PDF of their statistical classifications. If you scroll down through this document, down to page 6, that's where you're going to get into the attack combinations. This document also has how they grade everything, and so it can be useful for that, but I want to stick with attack combinations right now. So within this document, you're going to see a slightly more defined description of each of the attack combinations that they use within their files. A lot of these they don't actually even use all that commonly. It sort of depends on who's coding those. But this is a good way to remind yourself of what VolleyMetrics is calling different attack combinations. This will save you some trouble if you read through this versus just trying to figure out based on watching video. Another way that you're able to look through these and figure out a little bit more about what these different sets look like is if I mouse over any one of them, you'll see this little pencil icon comes up, and I can click on that pencil icon, and it's going to bring me to this little window here where I'm going to see the description of that attack combination. I'm going to see the ball type, the different options here, high, medium, quick, tense. These may or may not make any difference to you. What might be more interesting to you is the target attacker. If you're trying to figure out what an attack combination is doing, take a look at who the target attacker is. The front attacker is going to be your left side attacker. The center attacker is going to be your middle. The back attacker is going to be your right side, your opposite. The pipe attacker is going to be someone out of the back row, and the setter is going to be a set or dump type thing. The other thing that you can pick up from this is where this attack starts. It depends on which season you're looking at or which default settings you're looking at to see if it's set to zones or subzones, but this is going to give you an indication of where this attack starts on the court or along the net. And so this is just another clue that you can use to figure out what these different attack combinations mean. You can take these and give them some different names, something that makes a little bit more sense within your program, and keep the attack combination the same. So for instance, maybe you don't want to call an X1 a quick, maybe that just doesn't really stick in your mind. You can change this. Let's say that you wanted just to be a 1. You could do that and save that so that way when you're looking at looking at this information elsewhere in the application, maybe this is going to help keep things a little bit clearer for you. You're going to be able to do this in the season settings. Now, if you want to change these things after you create the season, you can still get at them. All you have to do is mouse over the season that you created, click either the Edit Season or the Season Settings. I'm going to click on the Season Settings, and again, that's going to bring me back to these setter calls and attack combinations where I can refresh my memory as to what is available in the season, make some changes. I can also add attack combinations as needed into those seasons. Once I have the seasons done, the next thing I'm going to want to look at is the teams that are in those seasons. I can change when I'm in the teams view and look at different seasons. Right now I'm going to stick in this Boot Camp 0 season that I've been looking at. You can export teams, you can import teams, you can also delete teams. I do recommend keeping this pretty clean. If you start from a fresh season, chances are you won't have any teams in here, especially if you start a new season and just take default settings. But if you have some other teams hiding out in here that maybe you don't want to see for this season, I recommend deleting them. And you can, the reason why I say that is it's also going to clean up your players list, your teams list. It's just going to make it easier for you to find some things as you go through the season if you get rid of things that you don't have to look at, things that don't belong. But again, ultimately, that's going to be up to you. You can also create new teams. Rather than creating new teams from scratch and building out rosters and all that, I recommend just taking rosters that are going to be imported automatically when you pull in matches from VolleyMetrics. Again, we'll talk more about that in another episode of this series. I don't want to get into that just now. But I can make changes to this team. There's two ways to do it. I can, again, mouse over it, click this Edit Team. This is just going to be very generic information that you're probably not going to be too worried about. Nothing in here maybe that you really want to change. Maybe you want to change the team name from whatever it was when it got imported into something that's a little bit more compact, a little bit more easy for you to remember, especially if it's teams you play a lot like in conference. But the thing that you're really probably going to want to do from the teams here is look at rosters. So if I click on that team name, I'm going to see all the matches in the current season that team participates in, and it's going to give me the opportunity to open that match up directly from this page. The other thing that I want to be able to do here is look at players. This is going to be important because of how this roster impacts lineups and spreadsheets that you might be using when you start looking at matches, when you start looking at video, when you start looking at spreadsheets. So while you can edit players one at a time, again, mouse over a player, click on this edit player, and you're going to be able to change their name, their number, their position, things like that. While you can do that to players one at a time, what I recommend doing instead is when you click on this list and you get this list of players here, you can click this blue Edit Roster button, and that's going to bring up a window that's going to allow you to make all of those changes to all of the players on the roster all at once. It will also allow you to add players at the same time and delete players as well. The biggest thing that I want to recognize here is that the positions that they have, when you import a team in from VolleyMetrics, typically they will not have any position at all. And that can be a good thing, but it can also be a problem when you're starting to look at spreadsheets, especially a lot of the spreadsheets that we create and make available to you. A lot of those spreadsheets are built to pull information grouped by position. And so if all of these things are blank, then all of those worksheets are going to show a whole bunch of blank lines where you would expect data to be. And so recognizing that adding positions in here in this edit roster area is going to be really important in order for you to troubleshoot some of the issues that you might see later on when you start importing rosters and matches in from VolleyMetrics. So again, you're going to be able to make those changes, click Save here, and then all those changes are going to stay available here in your teams. Now, once you have seasons and teams, or your season created, and then if necessary, done a little bit of housekeeping with your list of teams, that is the point at which, to me, importing in matches is going to start being a thing that you're going to want to do. And that's something that we're going to get into in the next video series, in this series. We're going to talk about importing matches and then how we're going to use those matches once we import them in, how we're going to get video associated with those matches, and then how we're going to do a lot of those other things. So again, if I haven't touched on things in this particular video, maybe check out some of the other videos first to see if we talked about them there. Or if there are things that I talked about here but didn't get into enough for you, or the questions or problems that you're having weren't addressed, then in those cases, please always reach out to us, especially to me. This is something that I'm going to be responsible for handling directly. And so you can always contact me for any of the issues that you're having, any of the questions that you're having, things that you want to explore or need to talk about in terms of using this application for your scouting, for analyzing your own team. Again, thanks for watching this video, and I hope to see you again in the next series.